Welcome along, everyone. We are back on another Wednesday for the weekend debrief. Hope you are all well this evening. Much to cover, lots to talk about. It's been a busy couple of weekends of racing. I managed to sneak away in between Masters of Foam and the British GP or FRGP. Hence, no debrief after Masters of Foam. Sorry about that, but we're going to cover that tonight. I had to go and head out to the sunshine, so that was fun. But back now, and I'm very excited to once again welcome to the show Mr. Lockyer. How are you, Ant?
I'm good. Hello.
So what's been Eastbourne?
Yeah, good. It was obviously I had a really good time there, as I've told you and anyone who would stand still for 5 seconds and listen. It's been a bit of an anticlimax, the week. I was sort of thinking to myself, well, it's best not to have good fun, because when you come back to reality, it's
Shite.
all a little bit hard work. But yeah, it's been good. Itching to race some more.
Brilliant. Well, we'll cover the FRGP shortly, but I feel like we need to cover obviously Masters of Foam. That's been an event that you've enjoyed appearing at and racing at over the years, isn't it?
Yep. Done maybe 4 of them, I think, when they were in Limburg. This is the first one not in Limburg, because the arena Limburg doesn't exist anymore. Speaking to some of the guys that I went there with, they all said it was basically exactly the same. It was Masters of Foam, but 2 hours closer.
Yeah, I mean that was beautiful, having to only travel. Didn't even feel like 90 minutes, but I think it might have actually been close to 2 hours. But in relation to going to Limburg, which was in Holland, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It seemed like whip across the Channel Tunnel. Yeah, a couple of shakes of a coffee on the way there, and you're at the track. So it was good. Obviously, very different because it was in a sports recreation centre, and they had to lay the track down. But by the time we got there, the track was down, and the limited amounts of track markers were down, actual physical hard track markers, and then they only had the rumble strips to put in, which they've obviously
ETS carpet.
ETS carpet, yeah, ETS carpet, and using what's it called, Speed Tech and various other oil-based additives. Grip was spectacular straight out the bat.
Yeah.
And just built throughout the weekend, which was great. It was really enjoyable, and it's nice. I don't know. There's something about going away. I mean, it's something. I mean, we do the nationals. We've talked about this, in chat about going away, about actually being away from home. But I get anxious about being away from home. I don't particularly like it. I like being at home in my own bed, but actually being on the road and racing and in a different country, that whole driving experience, it's only the downtime moments that I don't particularly like it, but being in a different country and seeing different cuisines and interacting with different people and the quirkiness of it all, I think it's really good. Do you enjoy that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different experience, right? The European, I mean, I've only done it in Europe, Netherlands, Germany, and I like there's a lot about it that's good. I think that the understanding the European approach to driving and just, the etiquette is a little bit different, and where I am, quick to give a place back or whatever if I feel that there was any sort of wrongdoing. That doesn't seem to happen so much in Europe, where you better wait to be told to give it back, because no one else is going to give you a place. There's some robust driving, I think, from our European friends. But, like, I think that place in Belgium, I can't remember the name of it, MRZ or something.
That's right.
Is closer than Poole for me. Like, the only national that could possibly be closer is Eastbourne. So I would much rather drive there for the ease of travel than go anywhere in the UK, especially if the event, like everyone's told me, was as good as it was.
I think anyone in the south probably would maybe feel the same way. I mean, there's something very simple about heading to Dover, right? I mean, or not even Dover. It's like halfway to Kent or halfway to Dover. I mean, it's an hour from my door to the Channel Tunnel, and
yeah,
for it to be part of the journey to be done by someone else, isn't it? Effectively.
Yeah.
And then you're in the car the other side and you're off and running, and the roads are always super easy. They're so much nicer, aren't they? They're a bit wider.
Yeah.
Actually, the speed limit's a bit faster as well, 80 mile an hour in some parts than 70, and so it makes it all much easier.
Yeah, exactly, and it's exotic, right? Although, I mean, going to the north, there's a lot of places in the north I've not visited that, are probably just as exotic with, different cakes and things like that. You can make the most of anything, but it's 6 minutes to the Channel Tunnel.
6 minutes, that's brilliant.
6 minutes.
Six. Yeah. So you're 36 minutes away from Europe.
Yes. Yeah.
Mark Stiles, evening, Mark. Nice to have you along. Mark obviously went along. He's just said the RC Race Car GP at MRCZ next year, and I think that really is something that I'd like to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I love MB models. I think we've done it a couple of times there. I've spoken to Michael and I was very keen to push it, but on the back of going to the GP or the Masters of Foam in Belgium, I think there's enough people that would probably go on the back of having seen the coverage of the event and knowing how close it was and well attended it was, and also the 17.5 GT12 that would appeal to some people. I think it'd be nice to take it RC Race Car GP there, and then you're going to get some Europeans, a few more Europeans coming than turned up at the event at MB Models. So absolutely, Mark, I think that would be a cracking opportunity to hold a European event, wouldn't it? So, what did you think of the track at Masters of Foam?
Yeah, I mean, like standard Masters of Foam layout, fast straight, wiggly bits onto the straight, wiggly bits in the middle. Yeah, it looked good. I like the track markers that you're not basically destroying your car all the time, but they're enough to ruin your lap, not ruin your race, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looked good. It looked tight. It looked twisty. I watched the video, watched it again today actually. Of I don't know. The guy said it was like teaming Roche versus Automatics, where there was Ollie protecting Morgan and Mark Stiles protecting his European mate. I think people were just racing, but every lap of that race, I was just like, oh, it looks like any minute it's just going to be like a wipeout in the chicane coming back onto the straight. But yeah, it looked super technical.
Yeah, the the chicane. So you came off the end of the straight, and then you had the Andy Smith roundabout. Because there is nowhere in the world that would have got that idea other than from Andy Smith. I mean, I can't imagine that they thought, bloody hell, Marcus Mobers would have thought up that idea, or whoever did, without seeing Andy Smith. So it's Andy Smith roundabout, and then there was a sort of a fast shoot into a chicane across the midsection. That was the high tariff bit. Really, the chicane coming onto the straight didn't feel as bad as that, because you could really get, you know, some pace up going into that chicane, and you could straight line it.
Right.
And you know, it's one of those things, and a bit like when we come on to talk about the FRGP, it was a bit like the FRGP entry onto the straight. You know, you could get some serious speed coming onto the straight there, and it felt very similar at Masters of Foam, that little section. It was a great track, and
So
I think
that's
sorry, go on.
yeah. I was going to say. So for me, like good track design. I'm pretty sure we might have covered this on a podcast a long time ago. But for me, good track design is that anyone can get around it, but a good person can extract speed out of it. So like that bit onto the straight at Eastbourne that I did really badly, like a good person didn't do that really badly, and would gain, 3/10 through there, maybe more on me, because they were able to straight line it. And I knew it was a straight line, but, couldn't get it done. And the same with buggy tracks, having a jump that you can only clear if you've absolutely nailed the exit of the previous corner. That's bad track design. But having a track that everyone can get around, but suddenly, Orlowski is going a second a lap quicker than, the guy in 11th place. That's a good track. You need to eke the speed out of it.
And of course, the people that aren't quite as good, they then protect those. They can still get through it, as you rightly say. They can still get through those sections, but they have to protect themselves, don't they? Have to enter it slower, get it right.
Yeah.
And that actually promotes good close racing, doesn't it? And I think then you roll on to the good track markers, which I think a lot of people. It was interesting to when I asked people about the track markers. I think the middle of the road guys don't understand that actually it not only saves the car, but actually when someone is in front of you that you're racing closely with and they make a mistake, you don't get collected too. Yeah. And I think that's really the biggie, isn't it? That in the high speed and the high tariff sections, you want to be able to take them on, but if you get it wrong, the consequence isn't taking your car out and taking someone else out with it. It's just like the end of the straight at Masters of Foam. If you could really make up time getting in tight and around the hairpin, but if you got in too tight, your inside wheel would clip the bend and push you wide, and you'd completely miss the apex. But there was absolutely no worry about destroying your car, taking someone else out. Flip that the other way to Eastbourne at the end of the straight. There were people that did clip the inside, that did fire it up the wall, and there were some catastrophic accidents as well there. And all they needed to do was cut that 8 feet short and have those the markers around the corner, and it would have done the job. But early days with the track markers, that wasn't a criticism. It's just obviously the Masters of Foam have been a bit more proficient in using those markers, haven't they? They've had some experience, and I think that really makes a very different experience of driving a tricky track at high speed.
Yeah, for sure. The only thing you've got to be careful of is being able to cut the track.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was Masters of Foam. I went to Racing Arena Limburg maybe 10 times, something like that, 11 times. So on one of those occasions, one of the tracks had the corner at the end of the straight was open. And if you got up on the curb, it could spin your car into the infield. Wow. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about.
Yeah.
Certainly not a reason to not do it, but something exactly to try and protect against.
And of course, I feel like I need to make it public that modified is absolutely the way forwards for 12 scale racing.
Yes. I rest my case.
Oh my God, it's like when I did it at RC race car MB Models, and then to do it at Masters of Foam was spectacular on on oily additive as well.
Yeah.
It was brilliant, and it was quite interesting. Like Blinky, you get there super quick at the top end of the speed, and then it sort of flatlines. And I understood what you meant by the harshness of what Blinky feels like, as we spoke at Eastbourne about. Like, you don't pull through the full band; it just keeps on pulling down the straight with 3.5 open, whereas 6.5 Blinky, it pulls, stops, and I think because you don't get that top end, it makes it feel a bit harsh. But it might be a bit more aggressive, as you say. But it was a great experience, and with the Schumacher car that I was using, the robustness of it. I mean, I smashed that thing to shit. I mean, so much so that I actually couldn't run my last. Well, I shouldn't have run my last two finals. I didn't run my last final, but my penultimate final, I didn't realise that I'd actually smashed my pivot ball through the bottom of the pivot hole.
Good one.
Where I've hit something so hard. I mean, it's just, but again, like full tilt, modified. I've used it. Well, I ran the two classes, 13.5M modified, for 2 days, and barely touched the cars and just kept on putting them down. And I don't think I checked the tweak all weekend, and they were just relentless, absolutely relentless tanks. It was just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Which leaves me in a bit of a quandary when I think about doing the Euros or the Worlds, whether I want to go down the modified route or the stock route.
Yeah. Difficult decision.
Well, it is when
I did mod at the Worlds.
Yeah.
And that was an absolute no-brainer for me. I didn't really like stock at all at the time. I don't know. It felt to me like stock cars didn't steer properly. And yeah, I might feel a little bit different now, but at the time it was just definitely. And I'm not going to win. Like, I'm not going to be the world champion in either class.
Sure. So
I might as well just do the one that's the most fun.
Absolutely.
Open mod is hands down more fun than stock for me.
Yeah. I'm still not at peace with the whole stock class in the UK. I still think there's misgivings in additive. There's too much, I think, that's going on in additive personally. But so I think the modified feels like it's a bit more of a level playing field, and and so is what it is. But I just don't feel like I'm going to have enough time to practice modified, so I'd still want to go along and run a stock car and feel like I could have a decent time of competing at that, even though I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable way of looking at it. But buggies is just, mod is just an easier version of buggying, right?
Yeah.
So you've had your practice.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah, 2-dimensional versus 3-dimensional. So I think to sort of round up Masters of Foam, I think it was a cracking event. I think Marcus Mobers was probably a little bit disappointed that he didn't get that many people turning up for modified and a few more names. I think there was something else going on, wasn't there? There was something going on in Sweden, the Sweden Nationals, that was it.
Right, yeah.
Sweden Nationals going on, and I think there was quite a few guys like Hagberg went there, and a few other people that probably would have detracted from coming to Masters of Foam. I don't know why Swedish Nationals would hold stronger than Masters of Foam, and vice versa, really. Yeah. They're both big events.
Nationals.
Say again.
Actually, I don't know what event it was. Finnish Nationals, was it, or Nordic Nationals or something?
I feel like it was Swedish Nationals, but I could be completely wrong. Could be completely wrong. So I think that was probably only the disappointing thing for Marcus. But other than that, I think stock was nicely thought out. There was a good amount of Brits in stock, wasn't there? I mean, there was Ollie TQ'd, Morgan was second. Then Mark was third, qualified third. Then I think it might have been me sixth, Ben Vincent ninth or 10th. I think there was one more. Who's the other fast English guy that got into the A final? Oh God, that's embarrassing. Whoever you are, I apologise. And if you do know who it was, Mark, you're probably still watching. Let me know. But it was a good turnout for the Brits in the finals. And again, three finals, man. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all in all, just because I want to get on to FRGP because that was a great event. Master Foam, super event. Oh, hang on, Mark Stiles. None of the people who went to the Swedish Nationals would have done Master Foam. Okay, I didn't realise that. I think it's just that the change in location means that a lot of the people who were local to Limburg weren't there. Mark Stiles says it was Ollie. Oops. Mark qualified second. Then it was Morgan. He didn't mention the other person that qualified. He just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that he out-qualified Morgan. Yeah. And then it was, I think it was Ben and I. And anyway, I think it was 5 English guys. But I think it's going to be an event that hopefully grows again in stature. This has actually started, don't know about you, but started to feel like we're back in the swing of life after the nonsense that went on, and people are turning up to race again, and that certainly was the first time when it felt truly that we were back on course, which was great.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. So, EFRA GP, and just to round up, obviously Ollie TQ'd modified and stock and won both as well with his Roche Evo 2. Is that
Evo
right?
2.
Yeah.
P12 Evo 2.
Yeah, P12 Evo 2. So well done to Ollie and Morgan and Mark. I think it's important to stress that Ollie is now the only guy that runs a car with a shock in the centre outside of the X-ray guys, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I have to say that his car does look different to everyone else's in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. And I think
Yeah.
that might be the divider of anyone trying to challenge him if they think they're hard enough down the road. But that's left to be seen. So EFRA GP. I want to just clear one thing up. I put out a post about Stuart Colby not allowing me to cover the EFRA GP. How do I want to put this in the politest of ways? I see what Daily Dose of RCTV is trying to do with their channel and promoting RC. I didn't get it that I couldn't stick a camera up and stream it, and it felt like all it was about was making sure that he had subscribers going to his channel following his YouTube channel. And what this is really about, all of this stuff, is about promoting the hobby, and that's all I was trying to put out there. And so I was just a bit disappointed that he put it that I was treading on toes, and it's not about treading on toes for me anyway. It's about promoting the hobby, and I think it's been quite interesting with the coverage. Great coverage, a bit of commentary and stuff like that. But I think when you are looking at racing, I think you want to be able to see your car, don't you? There's a fixed camera up in the up high, wherever it would have been, and you would have seen the whole track, so people would have been able to see their own individual car. When you get individual commentary and you follow one car, you don't get to see everyone else's car. So I think it has a slightly different, you're offering a slightly different service. So that was really what I was disappointed about. I verbalised it. I'm allowed to do that. If you don't like it, I had to actually push a couple of people aside from my pages because of their outspoken nature. But if I caused anyone an offence, it was unintentional, but I wanted to put my point out there, as you would all understand, because that's just the way I am. So hopefully I can just draw a line under that, and I just wanted to express my thoughts and my behaviour behind that, and we can move on. So, FRGP, how was it for you?
It was the best race meeting that I've ever been to.
Really?
Yeah. I enjoyed it more than any race meeting that I've ever been to.
That's a strong play, and I love it.
Yeah.
Tony Wade has just kicked in. Nice to have you along, Tony. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I've got 2 points to make on that. Number one, the track was outstanding.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah. Unbelievably good. Unparalleled, I've got to say, and I feel a bit bad about saying this, unparalleled by anything I've even experienced at Chesterfield, and Chesterfield is really good. I love Chesterfield. But it even was a level on from there for me. But secondly, it was probably because you were sat next to me the whole weekend.
Well, that had a large amount to do with it. Yeah.
I'm glad you've stressed that. So divulge why it was the best event that you've attended.
Well, there's so much. It felt like a club race in its relaxedness. There was no like overbearing officialdom. We didn't have a driver's briefing. Sorry, just to interject there. I love that. Yeah. I love that. We didn't need a driver's briefing. No.
Why do we need referees? Why do we need a driver's briefing? To be told what we already know.
Yeah. Yeah. So
say it, Anne. Say it.
Well, I mean, I've said it. It just felt like, you turned up. People knew what they needed to know, and if you didn't know something, you asked. And everyone, like, there was a chap there who'd never. It was his first ever LMP meeting. Full stop. And everyone helped him out. And I ended up in his final, the F final, the bottom final, and he got out of the way. What a difficult job that is. I've been in that position many a time, right? Especially when we were running mod and we only had 2 finals, and I was, 5 laps down or whatever. So I said to him, good job, and hopefully encouraged him to come and do some more. But he felt comfortable enough in that environment. He wasn't being told off. He wasn't being shouted at by a ref to get out of the way. He just did what was right, and what people had kind of helped him with and told him what to do. So that was that. It just felt like, more like entertainment than being governed. Not wearing a mask. Just, you said it. Masters of Foam felt like you were coming back, and it was, we got rid of that old thing. It felt normal, right? I was stood next, shoulder to shoulder with someone, not wearing a mask, having a chat to them. Didn't die. All good. I haven't died yet. Seeing people that I haven't seen for a long time, ignoring people that I don't like, just getting on with it, right? Just having fun. And you didn't lose your shit in the pits for a change, so that was a nice relief. So on the Saturday, I really enjoyed qualifying. Oh yeah, and then so I was running the Yokomo, right? Which, for anyone who doesn't know, we started running Yokomos in 2018. Stu, myself, Andy Thompson, Nigel Bowen, bunch of other guys, and invariably we all struggled at times to get the car to do what it wanted to do, and everyone moved away, and I was kind of like the last person to use a Yokomo. I had pretty good success with it at bigger events, but could never make it really work at UK events, and we didn't know why. Anyway, so cut a long story short, sort of worked out why that was, and this was the meeting for me to try out that hypothesis. And from the second I put it down on the track with the changes that I'd made, it just worked. Wasn't the fastest car out there. I hadn't touched a transmitter since, I don't know, January. So I wasn't the fastest person in the world, the fastest person I've ever been. But yeah, to get the Yokomo kind of working and respectable and easy to drive felt like a victory for me. So on the Saturday, I felt good about that. And some people said to me, "Oh, so you're going to come back racing?" And I was like, "Yeah, probably not. You know, I'm booked in for the national, but that's probably all I'm going to do." Sunday, my car was horribly tweaked for some reason for the qualifiers, but then sorted it out. And then the racing was just unbelievable. Like I say, I was in the F final. My car was probably a few tenths, 2-3 tenths slower than everyone else's, other than the guy who hadn't done a race before. But the closeness of racing and the politeness and the on-track etiquette, you know, people just respectful on the track, off the track. We shook hands afterwards to congratulate each other. It was just like, yeah, it was just amazing. There was no needle, nothing at all, you know. I took a guy, like tapped a guy, waited for him. We went, you know, no shouting, no screaming, no referee telling us what to do. Although at one point, Darren did say over the mic, you know, I heard him say a couple of things, but he interjected very rarely, only when he felt it was absolutely necessary. His commentary, you know, just like light-hearted things about people. It was just, yeah, just relaxed. But the racing was unreal for me. I think I led the first final. I led for 5 minutes, like the last 5 minutes, and my knees were just knocking like crazy. It was like, I can't believe how long 8 minutes is. And then I came second in the last two finals, but it was like super close. Yeah, just thinking about it, I feel, you know, excited about it. So Saturday I was like, yeah, you know, I'll do some more racing, whatever. Sunday I was like, I can't wait to get out again. You know, why do I have to wait a month and a half? And I bought a new car.
And you bought a new car.
I did.
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, that is so lovely. What a lovely story to hear how, as the weekend went on, it actually got better. I mean, I think that or should I say, it hasn't been that way probably for a lot of people for a long time until this new generation of cars. But for you to go there, feel like you've had some mastery over the Yokomo, and felt like I can put that to bed now. I've had my time with that, and to, you know, buy a new car. And what car have you bought?
I bought a Roche.
Yeah.
P12 Evo 2. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you know, and to have Ollie and Morgan to lean on and a bit of it, you know, and I don't necessarily think you need them to lean on, but if there is something that you'd like to find out, to have someone else running that car is fantastic. But to then walk away on the Sunday and go after the racing, which I think the racing is why we do this, and then to have 3 finals going toe to toe with people is, and I'm absolutely adamant that because we get 3 finals, people's demeanour going into that final is way different knowing they've got 3 attempts than 1 attempt.
Yeah.
Because it's not a bun fight at the first bend, is it? I mean, it's like, I don't really need to push hard here with the first one, because if it doesn't work out, I've still got it might be different in the third event, but it's different. So to hear you walk away feeling like that is spectacular.
Yeah.
And the Yokomo, what's going to happen to that?
On a shelf.
On a shelf.
With a shell on it, yeah.
Nice.
I'm not getting rid of that. I've got all the spares. Might, you know, take it out for a run now and again.
Yeah.
So now, you and I have talked about this before, and I've talked to Ollie about this. So a lot of the thing of me running the Yokomo, when no one else was, and this goes deep, but I won't go that deep with it. But basically, I just wanted to kind of do stuff on my own.
Yeah.
So for quite a long time, like I'd have a problem with my car, or not a problem with my car. So I'm mechanically very capable, right? I can rebuild a car, I can make it straight, I can do what needs to be done. I have some semblance of understanding of chassis dynamics, and if your car feels like this, do this or whatever. There were times where I got completely lost with every car that I've ever had. And with every car I've ever had, apart from the Yokomo, Ollie has just said, oh, move your shock 4 mil up, or do this. And it just worked, right? Ollie just knew what to do, either because he'd done it or he'd experienced it before. So like I was in Limburg on my own testing, and we were chatting about it, and I said, oh, this is what I'm feeling. And he's like, oh yeah, make this change, make that change, car's totally fine, and it's like that reliance made it easy in a lot of ways, but made it very difficult in a lot of ways, because I felt like I was in his way, felt like I was having to rely on people, and I wanted to build my body of knowledge and kind of understand it a little bit more. And it was a terribly frustrating thing to do, to just not talk to anyone else about it. And even when we were chatting at the event, I was reluctant to say things to you, and you were reluctant to say things to me, right? You wanted me to, you didn't want to get in the way of my program and just me trying to figure it out. So when I said to you, you said, what are you going to change? And I was like, I need side springs. And you were like, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. That was kind of the moment, right? That we know, okay, yeah, that worked, and we don't need to muck about with it anymore.
Yeah.
But now, so Alec Jones was the guy who beat me in the F final. Lovely guy. We had a good chat about it afterwards, and after every final, we had a good chat about the finals and all that. But I really want to beat him now. So
is that the ginger hair type guy?
Yeah, he's got blonde hair. He's from Lincolnshire.
Yeah, nice guy.
Really, yeah,
really nice guy.
But I want to beat him. So he's beaten me. Now I want to beat him.
Yeah.
So so now I'm happy to ask Ollie for some advice, because I've done that. I've kind of proven to myself that I can take a car that hasn't worked for 20 people in the UK, and I've made it work. Maybe not the fastest car, but good enough.
And you walked away having a really nice time.
Yeah, it was awesome.
With a car that people couldn't walk away having a really nice time with.
Yeah. Now, part of that was also that it was just me. So, like, if you and I were there, so it was Nige, right? Me and Nige, if we were both there, Nige was having a bad day, right? I would have then felt that there was something wrong with my car. Not something wrong with Nigel's car, there's something wrong with the platform, which is kind of, infectious. When we were all sat there, like 10 of us at a national, all going, oh, the car doesn't work. And I'm like, well, mine's kind of all right, but yeah. And then we're trying to fix it. So just having a single person kind of simplified that. Yeah. Mark Stiles said to me about how you getting on, and I said, yeah, I'm having a wonderful time, best race meeting I've been to. And he said, oh, what car are you running? I said, yo, come on, you blimey, you're having fun with that. It was like, having raced Yokomo for many years,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really super to hear. And it's interesting looking around the room, and, it's gone from, we were sat over in the corner, we were like lepers, there was no one next to us. It's because you're sat with me. But, the whole of the room, you looked at the Schumacher group, and it's dwarfed, isn't it? I mean, the team is much smaller. Then you looked at the Automatics guys; they've become much bigger. Then you've got the Zen, the Destiny guys, and then you've kind of got a bit of a nomad of a few X-rays and a few Roches. I think think part of all of this is that there's been a dispersion of people moving in different directions from there, and I think that's worked well for the pits. I mean, I had my music on. It was possibly a bit loud at times, but it felt like just something that's going on in the background that just takes away from the noise of people doing up bolts and truing tires and whatever.
Gremlin Shoemakers.
Yeah, yeah. It's just enough to just break the silence of the room, and music lifts people, doesn't it? And it makes I think you can't you get a couple of good songs on. I know it sounds stupid. You get a couple of good songs on. You have a bit of a sing song to it. Like we were singing along to a couple of songs along the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just adds something to it, you know. And I just thought the atmosphere in the pits I thought was really good, and they did a really good job of, you know, having loads of TVs around, didn't they? I thought that was really impressive. Wherever you walked, there was a bloody TV. You could see what the results were doing. I thought that was an absolute, real positive side of the weekend to be able to have that. It really did feel like a decent event. I would slightly disagree that it felt like a club event, but I think what you mean by a club event is the atmosphere felt like club event.
Exactly. Yeah. Not detract. You know, not saying it wasn't. Well, like an Eastbourne club event, exceptionally well run.
Yeah.
It didn't feel. Yeah, it felt relaxed. You know, there's no reason for it to feel tense, right?
Yeah.
Just because it's a big deal you shouldn't be tense about it.
No, absolutely. Even though you were shaking like a shitting dog when you were going out in practice.
Mate, it was just like, I can't believe this. Like, more nervous than I'd ever been. You know, well, not more than I've ever been. I can remember some times where I could barely move my head to look at my car going down the straight, but it was like a significant amount of excitement.
Yeah.
One thing that I think really makes a big difference is 2-day events rather than 2 separate events on two separate days.
Just hold that thought. Hold that thought. We've got 20 people watching. If you attended the event, make a comment about whether you enjoy 1-day events or 2-day events. Just put 1 or the number 2. It'd be interesting just to hear what people's thoughts are. 2 1-day events or a 2-day event. So if you like 2 1-day events, put 1 down. If you like a 2-day event, stick 2 down. It'd be interesting to hear. But yeah, carry on, Ant.
Yeah, so for me, quite often that it's the finality on the Saturday evening, right? It's like that event is done. We've done stock. I came 37th. I have no ability to do any better than that now. That's gone. That opportunity has been taken away in that single day, that one final. And then I've got to go and do it all the next day. And if you've had a crappy Saturday, there's no recovering from it.
No.
You know, your Sunday might be better, but you still had a crap Saturday that you can't do anything about. With a 2-day GP style thing, you've got 2 qualifiers on the Sunday. There's only 3 counting, so like that could totally turn your weekend around.
Yeah.
I understand why 2-day events aren't for everyone. You know, people can't do 2 days.
Sure.
People, you know, for all sorts of reasons, but for me, it just felt a lot better. Round by round qualifying as well. Like I've said before many times, I'm a fan. I like it. I know there's a lot of people that don't like it. Tony Wade told me how much he hates it. You know, it doesn't suit him, right? He always has that one round where he can pull it out of the bag, and you know, might not be able to do it for consistently. But for me, I like it. I like the attitude it gives you towards making changes. You don't do any big outlandish things because you've got to try and protect the performance that you've already got in the car. It's much more of a chess game than FTQ.
and four guys and potentially girls. I don't know who Quixman is, but all said 2 day event is far preferred than 2 1 days, and also put in FTQ or RBR in terms of what you preferred. Mark Stiles has posted up a couple of things. Yokomo, best car he's ever driven between minutes 3 and 7 of qualifying round 3 at Tamworth National in 2016. Mark, that might be the funniest thing you've ever said, my friend. At all other times, it was hard work getting it to work. And then Mark goes on to say the vast majority of folk do 2 days at the Nationals. Most prefer 3-leg finals for the reasons Stu described. FTQ or round by round, the jury's out on that, and it'll always be split. Well, it'd be interesting. People that are watching now either comment with round by round, RBR, or FTQ. I think round by round. I mean, I was marshalling next to James Stewart. I mean, he made a valid point about in the early rounds that when the grip's building, you do have less of a chance if you're in heat 3 and someone in heat 6 is going to have a different. But there is also an opportunity there, and people will probably go, "What on earth are you talking about? What would stop us from flip-flopping the after we've done 3 rounds of practice or 2 rounds of practice and 1 round of timed practice? We did 2 5-minute practices and an 8-minute. In the first round of qualifying, why not have heat 1 go out as normal and then half an hour break and flip it around and put the top heat out first and then go back down the other way? I mean, that's a bit dramatic, but there are ways and means around making it a level playing field, because ultimately you're trying to deal with the grip. Having said all of that, it worked, right? I mean, it didn't look like the top 2 finals didn't look any different than they would do normally, would they?
No.
From 20th or 25th, 30th up to 5th or 6th, there are 15, 20 guys that all can do super well, can't they? And I just don't think that is round by round and the grip variation going to actually disturb that in the fullness of 5 rounds where they can drop a couple. I think not. I think round by round works. Say again.
Did it? If you look at the top 10, was the top 10 the expected top 10?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I didn't really feel much difference between qualifying round 1 and 2 in terms of grip levels. I didn't feel there was a dramatic jump or like I was struggling to chase the grip all weekend.
No.
I don't know.
No.
That carpet seems pretty consistent. It builds, but it's not like, God, it's gone super high.
No, I agree.
But then I was on smallish tyres all weekend, so
yeah. I was surprised by Ollie's appraisal of the grip in his setup sheet that it was low.
Yeah.
But do we think that is throwing out spin balls for setup sheets?
So I was thinking about it today because there was a setup sheet from, I don't know, one of the US races that he attended, and he'd put medium high, and it was on CRC Black, and everyone else who attended that race, or other people that had attended that race, had put ticked the top box. Now, Ollie's raced in a lot of places with a lot of different carpets and additives and all of that. And perhaps, ticking that top box is well, then you can't go any further. Or perhaps it's reserved really for when you've you know, if you've not got your glue absolutely right on your sidewalls and the car is undrivable, that's when you say it's high.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe in overall terms, it was actually low, right? The cars weren't flipping over, or maybe it's just a feeling from his car, right?
Yeah.
Where actually it's like, yeah, he could run X35s, didn't feel like he had to switch to an Invincible or a J foam or whatever to try and free the car up. The car was free enough. So yeah, perhaps it was low grip for from that standpoint.
Yeah.
Not club grip.
No, I agree, but I don't really see it as being low. I think low was extreme. I mean, I think the appraisal of it's being low. I mean, we weren't pumping by the end. People were doing additive times that were far less. So I didn't necessarily see that, but that's not to say additive times were correct. But yeah. Anyway, Quixman says RBR or FTQ, doesn't know the difference as long as he gets enough run time. Well, amen to that. And Mark obviously hits it on the head that round by round, every round counts. FTQ, you're just going through the motions, aren't you? I don't understand. I don't understand FTQ. I don't understand why we still run it. I don't understand why it hasn't been pushed aside to just make round by round the new norm.
I think the answer to that is going to be the same as the answer to everything else. No one's suggested it at an AGM.
Yeah. And I think I'm the firm belief that it feels like 12th scale is building towards the perfect storm, because I had a chat with Tim Wood, who hadn't raced 12th scale for a good while, and the last time I raced Tim, now of course Tim hasn't raced 12th scale, but I'm still going to put him down as a better driver than me, without doubt. But he turned up and he qualified behind me. And sure, he hasn't done 12 scale, but he's a great driver. And there's been 15 people that have qualified better than him. And I think he's turned up to that event thinking, I'll probably stick it in the A final and have a great weekend. And he's not. And all of a sudden he's faced the challenge. Now, 8th scale, he doesn't face that challenge. And I said at the Masters of Foam, I said, there is one person that I wouldn't want to be that week, and I wouldn't want to be the weekend just gone, and that's the guy that's winning, because the guy that's winning has got nowhere to go. He's driving off, he's got no one to race, it's boring. And I think 12 scale has got so much depth, the cars are so robust and it's so intense that I think the more you get to people like the Tim Woods of this world, and others that are sort of migrating from other classes, I think they're going to enjoy the class even more, because the volume is going up, isn't it? I mean, we had 60 odd people and there were so many people missing, and we still had 60 odd people racing 12 scale. Well, you then get a national that's full. Well, that's now 80 people. And then you turn up and Tim is now 25th. It's like, holy shit, I need to get better at this if I want to. And of course, he's the type of guy that loves that challenge. And then, so I really feel like this is a perfect storm that's going to keep on brewing, because the cars are robust. They're inexpensive. The reality is they're inexpensive. Super close racing. And I think with that in mind, we've got the situation where we should be thinking, right, we're not going to try and make this season condensed into 3 weekends of 1-dayers or 6 1-dayers. We're going to make 6 events or 8 events from October to April. And if you don't fancy it, don't come for the weekend. Just do 3 of them or just do 4 of them. But at least give people the option, if they want to do 8 weekends, they can do 8 weekends. Make it 3 finals. People love racing. I mean, I had the racing weekend, the 3 finals with Ben Vincent of my life. I have not had that close to racing and been that amped up ever. And it's only because we have 3 finals. And I think you do that for 8 weekends and people experience what you've experienced, what I've experienced, and what clearly everyone's experienced. I mean, this cast will go only one way in my books, but we need to be, I think we need to keep on looking forwards. Don't keep looking backwards, keep looking forwards. And I think, I'm really excited by it. The 3 finals, 2-day race meetings, back off of the bloody red tape and bullshit, and let's have some fun, because everybody knows what they're doing, don't they?
Yeah.
So, Mark Stiles, again, I'll propose 2 days and round by round at the next AGM. Let the people decide. Well, I will be seconding that, Mark, if you do that. It's as easy as it's ever been to give yourself a competitive package in 12 scale, but it's never been harder to win than it is now. It's very competitive. Were you surprised how competitive it was over the weekend?
No, not really. I think that when I looked at the people, so the depth thing's interesting. So the depth at your end of the race compared to my end of the race is a little bit different. So there's still a bit of a gap that seemed a little bit unbridgeable for me at the weekend. It was a big jump, like, a 2-lap jump to the next guy. And I think if I was in the final up with Tony Wade, Lee Palmer, Chris, 2 Chris's, right? House was in there as well.
Chris Blackburn.
Chris Blackburn, Chris House. That I wouldn't have had that much of a good time. I would have just been racing, one guy who crept in there as well. So there's still some gaps in the depth that can cause a lack of enjoyment or a lack of racing fun.
Sure.
Because qualifying doesn't change, right? You're still doing your qualifying, but that racing fun, you need that depth throughout all of the finals. But maybe you just get it with one guy, right? Maybe just that one guy who snuck in and I snuck in and we both then battled out for last place. Maybe that is enough. But yeah, there seems to be, like, I think that what you were talking about with the Destiny and the Eclipse being this kind of easy to build or assemble in the case of the Destiny, and they're robust so that people can get into it. I think that's really important, and I think we'll build depth at the other end, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe you'll get some like mid-pace guys coming in from touring car or whatever, But I think that, like you say, that it feels like there's some building happening, and that kind of simplified thing is good for that. There's I think there's a lot of people that have been put off by how precise you needed to be on the engineering and how on top of car maintenance you needed to be. Whereas I have some. Well, the reason I bought the Roche is the personality side of things, and Ollie and Steve and all that, but also there's a bunch of stuff that car does that I still believe in. Like if I bought a Destiny, I wouldn't have run that front end. Yeah. I would have put a fully adjustable front end on.
Yeah.
Just things that I still believe are relevant. I could go on and on and on about that, but yeah, there are things that I think that the technology has maybe regressed a little bit. Like the Yokomo front end is the best 12 scale front end available, right? Everything else is a downgrade from that. If you had the 5 fastest guys in the UK all running Yokomos, they would be the 5 fastest guys, and no one would get anywhere near them. With that amount of development going on with it. But I think that going to the NOS front end is a downgrade. I think the X-ray front end is a downgrade from the previous X-ray front ends, etc. I think that, but that dumbing down, and I don't mean it's dumb, but that simplification is very, very good for the class. And maybe when we get, another 30 people take up 12 scale nationals in the UK, it will start to move the other way, because the UK is kind of leading the way, right? Destiny, Roche, Schumacher. That's a huge proportion of the 12 scale cars being run in the world. You've only got X-ray and CRC really, but so UK rules the roost again.
Yeah, and it certainly shows up when you go to things like Masters of Foam, right? And Mark Payne and Mark Stiles, the A12 guys, they managed to bring across a lovely father and son combo. Sips was their surname. I didn't know their first name. And then you got Hakon that came over, that raced at my event. They're running A12s. I think that they come to our event and they then go, oh my god, you slip up on a couple of bends or up on a round and you suddenly drop down, instead of dropping down 5, you drop down 15 spots. So at the moment, I mean, the UK certainly seems to have 12 scale by the horns. Of course, it seems like the US has it as well, but that's over a vast expanse of country. We as a small country, we are 100% the biggest place that runs the most amount of 12 scales.
Yeah. Someone did say that of the Japanese drivers, that there were at least 10 guys at big Japanese race that could win a UK national, and that they've actually got some severe depth in their talent. Yeah. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, that's some serious depth. Mark says after the MB event, Hakon's first remark was he's surprised he was by the competitive depth of our races. Yeah, so the depth of talent. Yeah. There was an interesting situation. Steve Moore, you know Steve Moore, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
He turned up at Eastbourne with Wayne Palmer, who's come back to racing again. Maritime guys, as you all remember, 2 lovely chaps. Steve hasn't done too much racing, and Wayne's done even less. But they both turned up, and Steve, because he's not really raced in any form of national event, he was put in the bottom heat, I believe, and he was up against the guy that had only was doing 12 laps in his 8 minutes, and he was a mobile chicane. But he had the balls to turn up. Not even the balls. He just entered because he saw it was a good opportunity to have a race at a big event. Steve's, I don't want to say displeasure, but Steve verbalised that he felt like he shouldn't have been in his heat. And he actually said that, and I'm only saying this because I'm opening this up to debate. I'm not saying that Steve was right or wrong. But Steve felt that he shouldn't have been at that event. He should be sticking to club racing before he comes to a big event like that. And my personal opinion, I said, he's not in the wrong heat, you are. And I think that the problem is that he's actually doing what he should be doing. He's entering an event, and actually you're the one not doing what you should be doing, and that's entering nationals. And if you're not entering nationals and you've got a better grading than you think you should have, or you're not in the heat that you should be in, you should A, ask, or B, there should be some leeway to getting you in a better heat. But it was interesting to think that Steve's mindset was he shouldn't be here, compared to I'm in the wrong heat. I was a bit taken back by that.
Yeah.
I think that's something that I can see that is a mindset of guys like the chap that was doing the 12 laps. I think that there's a lot of guys that shouldn't be here, should be at home. But of course, everything that we're doing, things like this, the streaming, is to get the guy that can only do 12 laps to turn up and have a bloody good time, learn about the class, take some tips here and there, walk away feeling like he's got a pocket full of knowledge and he's had a nice time. Unfortunately, Steve came there with an opportunity that he felt like he could compete and be in a better race. And of course, he was put in a heat with someone that wasn't as good as him. Difficult situation, isn't it? How would you go about managing that if you were, let's say, a race director?
I mean, Steve was wrong. I just want that to be like categorically incorrect, right? That guy should be at that race. So regardless of
Agreed.
You know, the rest of it, Steve was wrong. You were wrong, Steve. But Steve also shouldn't have been in that heat.
Yeah.
So there has to be some level of reseeding. I don't know how difficult it is. I'm pretty sure it's quite difficult. That meeting ran to the second on time, which is insane when you think about it. Even with computer breakdowns, we stood on the rostrum for a minute while Darren fixed the computer, and yet magically we were back on track. So I think that, there's things that things get jeopardised, right? And it could be 2 people were in the wrong heat, but the whole meeting would end up not running on time if it had to be resorted, or you'd piss off 4 other people if you moved them. So, having never run a race and absolutely do not want to run a race, I'd hesitate to make suggestions. But other than Steve was in the wrong heat, but also to encourage people to turn up.
Yeah.
So the whole personality thing that I was talking about, Steve, about me buying Roche, Steve Payne, and I might have even said this on the last time we were here, we were at a club meet. I think it was probably my first time running a 12 scale car. I don't even know why I bought a 12 scale, an LMP. I had a GT12. We ran at Maritime, you, me, Nige, Andy, G, and I bought this second-hand X-ray that had been put together with a pair of pliers. And like after every run at West Kent, Steve would pick it up, have a look at it, tell me what, you need to just check this, check that. And he said to me, "Are you going to come and do nationals?" Like, this was literally my first ever run.
Brilliant.
And I was like, no, I can't do nationals. I'm no good. It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Come along. It's not for the best people. It's for everyone.
Yeah.
And, Steve had the foresight there to encourage newcomers into it and genuinely encourage and nurture and look after, and look at what it created, an RC addict that has been all around the world, not all around the world, all around Europe, racing cars and world championships and all that, which wouldn't have happened without that encouragement. Maritime, I would have run that LMP, I would have crashed it a lot, I would have thrown it in the bin. Maritime would have closed, and I probably wouldn't have run RC again. So we need to be encouraging people, not telling them that they shouldn't turn up.
Yeah. I couldn't. It's one of those conversations. Is it? I mean, me, and you're the same. I don't say, I don't agree with people for the sake of making them feel good about their view. If I don't agree with it, and I said that to him, I said, I agree, Steve. I don't agree with you. I think he absolutely should be here, and you are just in the wrong heat. He is not, but it's one of those things, isn't it? You turn up at a race meeting. I mean, I know I've certainly been there because my ego gets the best of me. I want to be in a better heat, and I've been there. We've all been there. Oh man, I'm in that heat. I shouldn't be in that heat. I should be in a faster heat. Well, get on then. Drive faster. Get in a better heat. It was obviously in a situation where he felt like he was turning up. He wins at West Kent. He's the best driver at West Kent invariably when Ollie and Dave and Morgan aren't there, and of course turns up there with a sort of maybe a preconceived idea, and then gets in a heat where he's not going to be able to show his talents in his own mind, and of course he's just venting, and I'm sure he meant nothing by it, and I think he'll walk away from that event going, do you know what, that guy should have been there. I was in the wrong heat, but I was just having a bit of a tough time.
Yeah, well, that's it. When you're annoyed, you say all sorts of things, right?
Of course you do.
Anything to deflect from, what's really happened. I mean, I've said it. EWS, and I'm not saying anything bad about EWS before anyone starts typing on Facebook about I shouldn't have an opinion on it. The amount of times that the heat listing would come out and I'd be in the bottom heat and would instantly think, oh, well, that's my weekend fucked.
Yeah.
Because the doors don't open quick enough. I'm going to need to have a poo when I get in there. I'm going to miss practice.
Yeah.
It's like...
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, so bottom heat, it can feel bad. And the depth in the bottom heat it's a big spread. So, you do get someone who's way quicker than everyone else, and you do get someone who's way slower than everyone else. And it's hard work. Don't be in the bottom heat, just sort it out. Whatever way that needs to be, just get out of the bottom heat.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Darren would have accepted, Steve just begging, please move me. You can see I'm 5 laps up on the next place guy.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that along with the driver's briefing of the sometimes condescending chat, that can put you on the back foot. You need to be a strong character to then pitch up and go, can I be in a different heat, please? What? Really? Now, I've run a race meeting. I know how simple it is to move someone in a heat.
Right.
And so, you add all of this stuff together, and I think you unravel it all back. If we've got people coming that are wanting to race, it's got to be open arms. What do you need? How can I make 100%. Your day better? Because I really want to make it better. And I think that which we've talked about, the entertainment business, not the ruling and told what to do business. So I think it was just quite an interesting. It was just interesting. I could see someone that was stressed about where they were racing, and it made me a bit upset because I know what that feels. We all know what that feels like, but it was like he didn't have a place to go to say, look, I want to move heat, and I think that's certainly something that Steve Moore is big and bold and he'll come back and it won't affect him. But if it was someone that wasn't big, bold and would come back, it might put them off. And it's those micro stories, isn't it, that we don't necessarily hear about, that we need to make sure that we get right. And I think that's all part of the journey and the learning.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mark says he'll make a considered effort to make sure everyone's in the right heat. Open arms approach, fully agree. Make people feel welcome and valued, and it is. It's I don't know. It just feels a different energy in the 12th community. It really does. I think it's a lot of people are enjoying the cars, and the racing, and I think the format that they did at the GP was an absolute stellar job.
I loved it. Just one thing before I forget. Mark just hit the nail on the head. Valued.
Yes.
Right? We absolutely want more people racing 12 scale. Yeah. We literally value every single one of those people and all the newcomers that could come. So that's the right word.
Well, you heard it here first that Mark Stiles is now the new BRCA 12th secretary.
Wonderful.
This is good news, Mark. This is good news. And if there's anything that I can do to help you, Mark, I'm right here. Seriously, because I think, yeah, Mark is a guy that loves his racing. You know, he's got some good experience, but also, and speaking candidly, it feels like Mark has slightly shifted in his approach, if I can say that without sounding in any way offensive. That it feels like he has started to see actually there is mileage in slightly different things, and the 12 scale can move in a slightly different direction. Whether that's me making it up in my head, but I've had some nice chats. I really enjoyed Mark's company while I was away at Masters of Foam, and yeah, I think it's good. Him and James Stewart have been really, and Mark Payne have been orchestrators in the A12, and they have pushed that forwards, and it's just nice. It just feels like a really good vibe in the 12 scale community. So, when are you next going to race 12 scale?
January.
Well, that's wank. And I'm the same. I'm the same.
I don't even know when in January.
I'm the same.
I think it's January. I'm looking at my calendar. Yeah, 15th.
Yeah, I'm the same. That is that Tamworth?
Club meeting.
No,
club meeting at Eastbourne.
Club meeting at Eastbourne. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the National the week after. And then West Kent the week after that.
Right. Oh, good on you. You're getting stuck in. I'm buggy all the way now. Did I tell you I got into the? Did I tell you? Well, I think I've told the world. Got into the Milton Keynes GP buggy event.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's going to be mega.
Oh man, I am so excited about that. And the next day I'm going away on holiday for 2 weeks as well. So it's going to be like I'm going to need some beta blockers to keep the excitement in the week before. Brilliant. Are you gonna get the buggy back out?
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, there she is. It's all a bit blurry. Yokomo.
Yokomo.
Lima.
New Hobby Wing 5.5 has just gone in it.
You've gone 5.5?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, that is awesome.
I'm a fast lad. Didn't you know?
I didn't know, actually.
Oh, yeah. One of the fast guys.
It's brilliant. I absolutely love buggies. I've got to buy myself a 4-wheel drive, though, because I entered the 4-wheel drive section as well. So I've got to buy... Speaking to Lee Martin last night, actually. He's a nice chap. Got one, a new Quixman. Best racing format I've participated in is France, and only seen it in France. A bit difficult to explain in the comments, though. Oh well, that sounds intriguing, but
it does.
Maybe write it out and share it with me via a message. Buggy practice for Tony. Well, and I feel we have stolen people's time. While you're all here, by the way, hit the like and subscribe and share with your friends if you haven't done so already. Yeah. Just thank people that you want to thank, because I think it's very important.
Everyone that I interacted with at Eastbourne at the weekend who made it the amount of fun it was. Yes, you, Stuart. No, but I mean, seriously, like, you, Andy and Nige for the pit thing was, that's great. Great company, great fun, banter, no negativity whatsoever the entire weekend. But everyone that I spoke to was the same. It was just like, I just got nothing but happy vibes from all of the people I spoke to. I didn't speak to anyone I didn't want to talk to.
Yeah. The only person that I got a bit of negative vibes from was Scott Morton.
Really?
Scott was a bit down. He always feels a bit down. If you're watching, Scott, and I felt like I needed to give you a little hug. But yeah, I don't think I met anyone that didn't have something positive to say about the whole race meeting. It was really good. So No sponsors. You haven't got any sponsors. No fucker wants to
No.
sponsor. No one wants to sponsor you, and no one wants to
Who
sponsor
would want to
me.
sponsor me? I did win some chocolates. I did win a box of chocolates that
Oh, mate.
was,
Did
I
you?
mean, that made it all worthwhile.
You finished second, didn't you?
Second in the F final, yeah.
Yeah, I finished second as well. Well, I've done the fucking roses. The rose. Oh, I hope
mine's nearly
I hope my
empty.
trainer's not watching. Shit, I've just dropped myself in it there. But anyway, my wife has finished the roses, the box of roses, pretty much. Yeah, in 3 days.
Brilliant.
Why do they give chocolate away?
Because I felt really amazing winning a box of chocolates.
I love the prizes. But it's chocolate, man. It's chocolate.
Yeah.
It's just like fucking.
Yeah. But it's like you get a plaque or whatever. I don't know, whatever, the certificate in the
Oh,
thing.
oh,
Like, that's great, but
oh! It's not though, is it?
chocolates, man. Like, I didn't take a picture of that and send it to my wife. I sent a picture of the box of chocolates. I said, look what I've done. Yeah.
I took my plaque, and it went in the bin.
I knew that would be the case. Have you kept any trophies from anything ever?
Anything ever? Nothing.
Mm.
And even if I won a world championship, I wouldn't keep the trophy. I was listening to Talk Sport interview athletes, professional sports people, and Graham Lasso was on there. And I'm not a Chelsea fan, never was, not a football fan, but he has the same mindset as me, that any accolade that's done. And I'm a believer in that it's the journey I'm interested in. The driving along the line and winning, it's done. On to the next.
Yeah.
Like that, like I had the best overtaking move potentially of my career against Ben Vincent in the second final. That moment, that was it. It was that's what I took away from the weekend. That racing, if I'd have won the A final, I wouldn't have taken that away. It was the journey to get there. And so trophies mean nothing for me personally. I've always been that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, me keeping my Yokomo, like, that represents, like, if I don't keep that car in 20 years' time, I won't be thinking back to this moment and remembering it in the same way. Like,
Yeah.
I have to have something.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was watching DDRC's King of Clubs video, which if anyone hasn't watched it, you should, because it's a really good documentary. Great fun. In that, Ollie Jeffries said that he didn't keep any of his old cars, like from his winning car. I mean, it didn't look to be completely true, because there was 2 on the shelf behind him as he said that. But he said, I haven't kept anything from those times. And I think he might have even said about trophies as well. Which I thought was a little bit sad, and I think not having that stuff to look back on is a little bit sad. Steve Payne has got Ollie Payne's Euros winning car, like as it came off the track, just minus the lipo, but as it came off the track, that is the car that Ollie Payne won the European Championship with, and that's a piece of history. And I think that things like that might not be your bag, but I think that they definitely have their place, and sentimental value is something that is important.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that to a degree. I think as a father, being proud of your son, I think that's something that is not something superficial. Like the car is the token of. It's almost like the car becomes the love for the child. It's like I created that child. He created that car. He won with that car. That's a piece of my son. Do you know what I mean? Whereas someone giving me like second for the B final, there's too much that I went through the last weekend that I will remember that means more than a piece of paper. Yeah. And so it's much the same, but you see it as something physical, I see it as something more emotional, maybe. I don't know. But no, it's interesting. All right, well, we've kind of occupied 90 minutes of a Wednesday night. I normally keep these to an hour, but seeing as you're such a special guest, I really like having them for longer. So so next racing for you is 12 scale in January. Next racing for me is Friday evening. I will be streaming that live at Slough. And then got the Wheel Speed GP coming up very soon at 10:66. You're going to get yourself down at 10:66 soon?
Not until February.
No, you're some sort of
my diary's just chock-a-block. I don't know what happened. My intention was always to race all through the winter, but having that gap from whenever it was to now just fell out of the habit. So I didn't get my diary booked out, and my wife managed to put a bunch of stuff in there that I've now got to go to. Clearly
hasn't worked out for you, has it?
No.
And thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
As usual, it's been lovely having you on. So I will bid you good evening, and I'll see you very soon.
You, sir.
Take it easy. Later. Take it easy.
Bye.
So that was Ant. He joined us this evening for this week's debrief. It's been an absolute cracker of a episode this evening. I think you'd agree. Been some really good racing going on in the 12 scale community. I just want to, from a personal point of view, I'm a very driven individual, and I'm quite serious, but I certainly don't take myself too seriously. I like a good laugh and a Mickey take, and sometimes that doesn't come across potentially in the way I project myself, either at the track or online. But it's certainly nothing that's intended to piss people off. I'm passionate about this hobby. I'm passionate about doing as best I can when I go racing, and hopefully you should never feel like you don't want to come up and talk to me, because I certainly like to talk to people, but I just really love this hobby for what it is. Anyhow, hope you've enjoyed this evening's weekend debrief. I know I have, sharing it with you. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. If you've liked this podcast, or whatever you want to call it, weekend debrief, hit the like, click, share and subscribe with your friends. And as usual, I look forward to seeing you all trackside soon. Take it easy all. Bye for now.